Peace, peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about how your patience will constantly be tested. This will be something that is doing what everything else out here has been doing, which I always like to discuss. It's been ramping up. So we understand with us not all the way being in our complete natural state and incorporating natural life with the systematic structure that's built right now, it's designed to keep us distracted, thinking less of ourselves, everything that goes hand in hand with the demonic playbook. So we have to understand that everything we do, our patience will be tested. It's getting to the point to where you are no longer just going 1, 2, 3 days, out the week getting your patience tested. Your patience is going to get tested at least 3 or 4 times a day, especially if you are engaging with the outside realm. You know what I mean? What I mean by engaging with the outside realm is you are going to stores, appointments, you have a workplace, a workspace where you operate at, so you're constantly, it puts you in a space of engaging continuously. And we all understand that the beings who use the other playbook, they're constantly being distracted from self. So it's always a lot of different things working in the spiritual realm, in their inner space. So if we can see that happening with the system, with them giving us way too many choices, right? And then it trickles down to little brother, little sister, which is the beings that we're around every day on a day-to-day basis, then we got to understand that they're using the same playbook on a smaller scale. So they would have a lot of the same tactics as far as, constantly being distracted, their inner spaces running more rampant than usual. We all kind of have a lot going on the inside to a degree. And we have to do certain things to slow it down, to focus our energy precisely, especially if we want to accomplish anything, any of our goals, achievements. If we got any markers set, you're going to want to reach them. But the way they have us working on our patience out here, it almost feels as though we are some of the most impatient beings out here in society, and we know we are far from that. And when you don't put the light in your awareness on what's actually happening is causing you to feel impatient, it's forcing you to manage and master your emotions a lot faster than probably you was originally planning on doing it. We have to drive outside in this traffic. So even traffic is its own obstacle in itself for having to engage and move around in this weird society that we got set up right now. But even when I minimize my engagements, I realize even some of those subtle beings that I have to bump into, or locations that I have to go to, I have to put more extra emphasis on. Soon as I feel something get near my alerts and alarms and my trigger, it's like I automatically tell myself, all right, this is one of them situations where you got to work on your patience. See, us doing these things is kind of like how we eat daily. A lot of these things we have to do daily in repetition. It's not something that you'll just do one time. You get it, you got it, and it's done and over with, and you don't have to experience it anymore. We're in the middle of a battlefield. So you have to be aware that all of these tactics are being used. So if they can keep us in an impatient state, then that makes us feel a little bit more rushed on the inside, and it makes the situation and the obligations feel as though theirs are going to be met sooner than ours. And not like it's a rush or anything, but usually when we're trying to do something, it's not with ill intentions. You know what I mean? It's either something we got to do for life or something that we're doing to kind of put ourselves in a better space. Third one is just something we had to do to relax. Even when you're trying to go out and get some relaxed time and space, you still have certain entities that can get to you. Why do you think certain gnats and flies like to tend to be in your space when you're doing something? And it don't even have to be a lot of them. Sometimes it just be one or two that just keep buzzing by. These are spiritual beings too. These are just the vessels that they were dropped in. So this is the most annoyance that they can bring into your vibration. So that's why we're constantly having to do this, or like to shoo them out the face, out the way. It's like a lot of different things that will cause you to have to. We went from traffic, from job, to stores, even to being out in nature. A lot of people come out in nature and they still don't understand that these are spiritual beings too. So everything that transpires out in nature isn't always a godly use of that creature or that animal. The opposition can access some of these spiritual beings as well too. They're vessels. So these are all things that I always keep in mind, because we're in the middle of a war. And they'll also have your children, your kids. I don't like calling them kids, that's baby goats, but your little people have you in that same space as well too. Like, the opposition will use your children against you. And you may know your child like the back of your hand, but then some things that they say or do just really seems out of character, out of balance, out of place. It's because that vessel is being utilized, and especially if you seeing it being utilized in a place to where it's affecting you, to where it's making you make like immediate decisions. You have to make immediate choices. So that was a hard one for me, which I knew was on the way and it was coming eventually, but I was always aware of these things. So it's like I knew not to get too frustrated with her, and I knew that was an area that I was going to already have to work on, my patience with my men. Even though I'm extremely patient, but I understand the other side and what I laid down with to conceive this one, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, you have to be prepared for all locations and places to be utilized against you. You know, I know my mini doesn't have any ill harm towards me. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all know y'all children don't have any ill intentions towards you, but because they're so young and vulnerable, they vessels still get used until we help strengthen their connection with source, their enlightenment, their awareness. And you don't have a choice but to tap them into the tactics of the opposition, because if you don't, then you're gonna have your little ones out there lost and going through all these battles and obstacles with things that you could have prepared them for. You know, the grown-ups and the little ones that aren't processing properly, that's in that unhealthy state, the children is a replica to a degree of the caretaker. So even when I see little people doing things that's off balance, I tend to have a little bit more patience with them, because I understand like a lot of things that's been transpiring in their life is not really their fault right now. It's the caretakers, the caregivers, mom, dad, you know, grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie, whoever it may be, you know what I mean? Could have been a foster care. You got different, you know, caretakers that's not your bloodline. They still your caretakers at the end of the day. These are all things that will cause you to feel extremely impatient. We also got the financial and the system, what it's doing right now with the economy. You know, it's so many things happening and transpiring that is putting a lot of people in a scrambled state on the inside. You get into a scrambled state on the inside, all you do is either want to shut down or you're going to want to figure everything out right away. Today's society, most people are going to that state of shutting down because it becomes too much and too overwhelming, and then them not even understanding that this is a prison to a degree that the system created through the demonic playbook. You know what I mean? That's why it's things that we have to do that doesn't have anything to do with natural law. The way we work in the system, because we have to, all humans, spiritual beings that's born into these Western societies everywhere, we got to work these plantations. They established that and set that up the same way natural law is set up, how we have certain roles and jobs we're supposed to do. But because we're so forced to do the system's work and follow their structure, we neglect our own roles and jobs that we have in the spiritual realm. And this is what puts people in a space of feeling, you know, unwanted, unwelcome, not valued, you know, outside of the opposition using those characteristics against us. I'm one of them people that's always like, I could never completely put my spiritual duties last to this demonic structure that's in place right now. I've always figured out a way to kind of make sure this one is receiving, the creator, natural nature is receiving 60, and the system is receiving 40. Maybe sometimes I do 70-30, you know what I mean? But a lot of us could tell by the way we grew up and the way we lived our lives that we were either more prone to the distractions or more prone to following the creator to a degree, because the system didn't set well with us, and following their rules and obligations didn't set well with us. And if you ever notice that when you do stuff that's like against the system, because they got rules and all these things in place, you don't feel as guilty, because it don't have the same meaning and value. It's superficial, it's artificial. But if they can get you to believe in you jaywalking is wrong, and now you somebody who never been in trouble, it's gonna put you in a weird panic state, you know. And even if it don't put you in a weird panic state, it's almost like, to somebody who's never received a ticket, to get a ticket like that, and who kind of lived a sheltered life, that kind of puts them in a space of like, now they're feeling edgy because they have something on their driving record, which for most of us, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we don't give a damn about, you know, jaywalking ticket. I don't even know if they even write those things, but I know it is a thing that they can do. But all of these things run hand in hand with how they work on our patience. And then you'll find yourself in your own personal situations, even if you in your own space and nobody else is around, you'll still have weird stuff happening with the technology. Your phones start being weird, computers not loading pages and things when you need to do them, and you know that you got great internet service. It's like a lot of things that will be happening to kind of cause you to lose your balance. And every time I have these things happen, the first thing I do is I use my fruits of my labor. I think about my past, I time travel back to the past, and I process all the times where something similar has happened. And the first thing I did was, okay, I handled it that wrong way. I've been through that process. I made it over that situation and other situations. So now I already understand that, okay, this little immediate jolt that's happening right now, it's all gonna come to surpass me. But I still have to bring awareness to it, so that way I can make sure I settle my energy down on the inside. A lot of people look calm and cool and collected on the outside, but in the inside, their spiritual realm, their nervous system, their body is chaotic and it's going crazy. You know what I mean? Your patience is going to be next to peace. It's part of the peace recipe. Remember, everything has a recipe. It's never going to be just a one word, a one item. Or even if you're growing fruits, it's still multiple of things that happen for you to get to that one apple, that one orange, you know. So just keeping these things in mind, because a lot of us, I see a lot of people getting scrambled. I talk to a lot of people and I be having to get them to slow their thought process down. Some of them talking riddles because they're so used to being around witchy people. And when you're around witchy people and you vibrate higher than them, you're constantly not communicating at the level where you should be communicating at. You're dropping your vibration to communicate on their level. And then when you find yourself trying to communicate normal, this is where the riddles come in at, because you're trying to let it flow naturally, but they're not comprehending. So that's when you start formulating the riddle. You're using a bit of your language, and then you start dropping a couple vibrations down, hitting some words from those piles over there, to where they can kind of comprehend it just a little bit better. When I run into people like this, I always have to emphasize to them, like, when you communicate with me, you don't have to talk in between the lines or in riddles, because I pick and choose the words that I use very wisely, and I understand every single word that comes out of my mouth. So with me telling you this, and you know that I have that understanding, it should be easier for you to formulate how you would like to communicate whatever it is you're trying to get through to me, or just pass out into the universe, and I'm just being a ventilation for the universe, you know. But these are things we got to be aware of, you know. Our patience is going to be worked in all areas. You're going to be tested on a lot of different levels. It's going to be beings around you that see that you're working on certain things, or see that you was trying to bring your energy back to a more peaceful, vibrant state, and then here they are making subtle gestures, making subtle comments, making subtle noises, you know, because sometimes they don't even say anything, they just make a noise, and it'd be just enough to kind of make your energy in the inside do this thing right here. So now you're back to trying to settle it down, you know. Don't allow them to put their foot in your water and muddy the waters. You ever looked at the water when it's still and it's just steady, but then when you put your foot at the bottom, even if you're at the edge of it, put your foot at the bottom and you twirl your foot around, now you can see the mud, the dirt, everything from the bottom, all the particles is rising, and it's making the water foggy, less visible to see if you're in the water, you know. But keep these things in mind. We getting tested on all levels. Your patience will be getting worked on all levels. You're gonna be finding yourself in a space to where people got you repeating yourself, and you're gonna do it so much to where you're gonna stop yourself when you get to that frustrating point. You don't have to let it get that far to where you get to that frustrating point. You know that you said it at a reasonable volume. You knew that you used the appropriate words. So, and you know that it was very clear when you gave the message. So when you are in that space, you deliver the message. You only give yourself maybe 2 times on the repeat. 2 is a limit. I'm saying it 1 time. I'll give it to you a 2nd time. 3rd time, I'm assuming that the message wasn't for you, and I'm not going to reiterate myself. There's too much we got to do out here in the midst of this battlefield, you know what I mean? But I ain't want to run it up too long. Tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.